As we're sitting here right now, I think I still screwed up.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Trevor Yonitz, and you're watching The Next Course. It's the show about life's big transitions all over small bites and apps, and inspired by our guests. Speaking of our guest, we have somebody on today who is a friend of mine. I've got a lot of friends who come on here, which is great. But he's a buddy of mine. He's an Army veteran, super nice guy, very intelligent guy. He's an author. He's done all kinds of things, and I'm super grateful that he's on the podcast. Steve Medrano, welcome, buddy.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm super stoked.
Dude, the fact that you came, I'm honored by the fact that you're even here, dude. So
awesome, man.
Thank you, man. But before we get into all the crazy nitty gritty, I made you some food.
Okay, what do we got here?
Now, you did walk in when I was making it, so you know it's fresh. I didn't pop these in the microwave or out of the fridge.
True.
So they're fresh. But today, I made Baja shrimp quesadillas. I know they're your jam.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, they're up to your standard.
Okay.
I feel like I'm going to be judged if they're not, but I'll just fall back on the fact that I'm a widow and I can't make this stuff, right? So, dude,
I'll let you know, man.
Absolutely, man. So before we get in, we'll give it a shot. I think they look pretty good, though, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think?
They look great, man.
Obligatory cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, let's give it a shot. You're going to dip it into the Baja crema. Baja crema. Give it a shot, dude.
All right.
Those are actually pretty good.
Dude, these are great, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, these are great, dude.
I think so.
I'm going to be honest with you, like, I don't want to double dip, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back piece because I have to have some more of that crema.
You have to, dude.
Like, that's delicious, man.
For sure. I know, you got to just fold it in back with the tips and tricks you learn on the show. Dude.
And so now I have kind of like a Wu-Tang looking thing.
Well, that wasn't planned.
Okay.
That wasn't planned? That seemed like it was planned. That was actually impressive. So,
no, this is great.
Dude, I'm glad you like it. If you do want to see that full recipe, it is going to be released later on this week. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can be notified as soon as it comes out and you can learn how to make these hopefully better than me. Either way, I like them. So there you have it. So, Steve, before we get into these crazy questions, man, I know that, we talk about life's transitions. We talk about how you navigated a lot of these things. But before I do, the audience has to know a little bit about you. And the way that we're going to find that out is through some rapid fire food questions. Okay. So I'm going to come out of the gate swinging.
Let's do it.
Okay. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay. That was immediate.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. What is your go-to appetizer whenever you walk into any restaurant? Like, let's say it's a chain restaurant.
Okay.
What is your go-to appetizer?
Chips and queso, man. And if there's some salsa, dude, I go for that. But yeah, that's my go-to usually.
Chips and queso.
Always.
If they don't have that.
If they don't have that, man.
You can't say the Chili's triple dipper. You can't say that because
there's
like three different things, dude.
I was going to go there. But, man, I would have to say like maybe mozzarella sticks.
Okay, that's a good one. Some mozza sticks, dude.
Yeah.
I
Those
like
are good.
that.
I like that.
That's a crowd pleaser. And everyone has them.
Everyone has them, but each individual place that I've been to, man, like I don't know if TGI Fridays is even still a thing anymore, man.
Dude, didn't they go bankrupt?
I have no idea, but like they used to have these like flat looking ones, and I mean those were delicious,
dude.
Super delicious.
They had those potato skins too, and those are pretty bomb.
God,
but
I forgot about those.
But they still sell them at like you go to the frozen food section, like HEB, dude. They still have them.
Oh, that's right.
Which is dope.
Yeah.
I don't buy them.
I just don't have a deep fryer, and I don't like eating.
No, it's not the same. Dude. It's not the same. Dude,
Yeah.
I love it. What was your favorite childhood snack?
Oh man, honestly, bologna sandwiches, man. Because
Bar S
for one, I get to. Well, I don't know if it wasn't Bar S. It was from like the actual like butcher.
Oh, you got the good stuff
from the deli, if you will. But yeah, we'd cut it open, man, and it was like a double for me because for one, I got to eat the bologna, and then afterwards, I don't know if this is weird, but the little wrapping that came around.
I was just about to say you
chew on the wrapping, like oh yeah, man.
Dude, you chew on the wrapping?
Oh yeah, dude, all day for as long as I could get as much flavor out of it as I could, and then just threw it out, man.
That bothers me, dude. I think we might have to end the podcast there.
Yeah.
I gotta
go, man.
I gotta do my,
give you my secrets.
We got kids here, dude. You can't be allowed here, man.
Kids, don't try that at home.
Don't try that. Nobody try that. Actually, that is a crazy thing to do. That's a fear factor, like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Dude, so I love the food questions, man. I think it's awesome, man. But I want to talk about you, man. You have a pretty awesome story. The way that you're navigating these things and these things that you have going on in the future.
Okay.
I love that, man. So before you made your transition, right? You were in the Army. How long were you in the Army?
Initially, active duty 7 years, but before that, I had a small stint in the National Guard for about 2.5.
Gotcha, man. So what did life look like when you were doing that? I guess before you had gotten out and made that transition into doing these other things.
So when I was serving, it was great, man. The majority of my routine was regulated, man. I knew when to wake up. I knew when to go to bed. I knew what kind of food to eat. I knew when I was going to get paid. Mm-hmm. Everything was just structure, and it was great structure. And coming right out of high school, joining the military, I needed continuous structure. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good time
for sure, man. Yeah. Did you ever see yourself leaving?
I didn't. And I don't really talk about this much, man, but the day I was told that I was going to be med boarded, man, it was one of the toughest days that I'd ever had to deal with. I specifically remember being in the doctor's office and, a grown man, doctor's grown man, he put his hand on my shoulder and was like, "Hey, son, you did the best you could. It's time to let other people do it." Mm-hmm. And man, I started bawling, man, and I lost it, and not in a way where it was uncontrollable, man, but it was just I hadn't cried like that in a while, so yeah. It hurt, man.
For sure, man. Yeah. Do you think that? And here's one thing I've noticed about these kind of careers. I know for me and a lot of people that I've done stuff with, a lot of us have our identities. We put so much of who we are in our identity into these careers. Yeah. And the thing it is that we don't realize is that it's something that can be taken away. Yeah. And when you put your faith in something that can be taken away like that, it sucks, man, when it actually happens. Because when you're in it, you never think that. Like you're on top of the world. You're like, this is, I'm the man. Like this is right. I mean, I agree. So I think that I've seen a lot of people. I've had that problem myself. Do you think that was part of the thing? I mean, it's part of the culture. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's who you are.
Yeah, I think ultimately, man. I didn't foresee it happening. I really did put a lot of emphasis on the fact that, hey, I am going to make this thing a career. I'm going to go all the way. And then when you get hurt, regardless of your physicality and like how well you think you are in terms of like your physical health and mental health, sometimes there's other plans out there for you and you're just not aware of them. And for me, I wasn't ready to accept that there was something else out there for me. So yeah,
that's big, man. It's hard to accept it in the moment too. Obviously, hindsight's always 20/20.
Absolutely.
But when you're in it, you feel like your world's ending.
Oh yeah, and it did, man. I remember driving home. It was the longest drive home on base. Just telling my wife, "Hey, it's going to happen. I don't know how fast it's going to happen, but it's going to happen." And like you said, man, everything's built into the culture of, we're going to endure, we're going to push through, we're going to be mentally and physically tough, and just to be told that, hey, man, it's your time to ride the bench. I knew I was done.
It takes a lot, man. It takes a lot to go through that, but I think it takes a lot to come out on the other side of it and be where you are.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that a lot of people overlook. Oh yeah. Because when you face an obstacle like that, dude, it sucks, man. And it takes a lot out of you. Yeah. And it's like, man, like I just feel like I had everything ripped away from me. Yeah. But when you come in, when you're faced with a decision like that, and you're faced with it's not even a decision. It wasn't even your decision. Yeah. When you're faced with, hey, this is what's happening, your only choices are to either give up or adapt to it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So you adapted, man.
I did.
And that was the moment where you're like, hey, I'm realizing it's time that I have to make a change.
Absolutely.
So when you left the military, man, you left the Army. I know it was probably hard. What were some of the struggles that you faced early on as you left?
That's a really good question, man. And for a long time, and I'm sure you'll hear this from other people, other veterans, but integrating back into civilian culture. And when I use that word civilian, I use it loosely, just because there sometimes seems to be a negative connotation to the word civilian. And I definitely, maybe back then, I was very like, anti-civilian. But coming out of it, the biggest struggles were watching other people not, be on time, watching other people not necessarily wanting to take responsibility for their actions, and not necessarily working like as a cohesive unit. It was very like individualistic, like opportunities for people like, I'm going to step on as many people as I can to get what I need. And And I saw that, and it was just brand new to me. I came from team environments, from being around other people that were very team oriented. And so when I saw these people like, basically looking out for number one, it struck me as weird, and I had a hard time accepting that. So.
When you go from a point of like looking after, you're looking after your brothers, you're looking after your people who are out there, the people that you're serving with, right? And the people come first, right?
Yeah.
Wise man once told me, people are more important than gear.
Yeah.
Right. But when you see that it doesn't apply to everybody across the board the same way, it kind of strikes a nerve.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost upsetting.
Yeah, it's very upsetting, man. And I'll tell you another thing as part of the struggle, like when you're on active duty, okay, like I'll say this, I was a mechanic, but if I needed to be something else, I had to be something else. And so just because you were assigned one job doesn't mean you were going to do that one job the whole time. Sometimes you had 5 different jobs that you had to do. So you adapted to the situation, you figured out, you got as much information as you could about that new responsibility, and you made it your like responsibility to become inherent in that role. So whenever I transitioned out, there would be opportunities where I'm like, hey, I can do that job. And they're like, well, you're not certified for it. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter, but I can do it. And they're like, well, no, you're not certified. And so that was really a struggle for me as well, because, dude, I can do this job. And the fact that it's not getting done because I'm not certified or because you don't have other people that are certified, like that job still needs to get done. And
the job is still there.
Yeah. And whoever comes and takes on that role later on is going to just have like a pile of things that they need to get through. And so that leads to turnover. So.
No, I think you're 100% right too. And it's hard to quantify adaptability and the ability to learn. Right. A lot of people say that, like your bachelor's degree, whenever you go to college, they say your bachelor's degree, that's what that is, right? It's just saying, hey, I have the ability to learn something. But even that has become so devalued nowadays. It's like, dude, like it's hard to, how do you prove that, right? When you come from an environment, military, law enforcement, first responder, whatever you're coming from, that's one of those things where you're constantly forced to adapt to the changes, right, that are being thrown your way. You don't really have a choice, right? It's either do or don't, and you die.
Right.
Beyond that, there's not a whole lot. So it's being able to recognize that. And I think especially for like people who are hiring other people, whether it be like recruiters or whatever, people recognizing that a lot of these people coming, I'm not saying everybody, right? There's never a one size fits all, but like dudes who are coming from these fields where they're forced to adapt, forced to learn, right? I think that's such an undervalued trait and undervalued quality that it's like, you can tell people that, but until they've been through something like that, it's hard for them to understand, like, I will learn it. Yeah, but you don't know that. Here, it's on this paper. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense, man. And again, it's just, you have dudes that can accomplish more than just one thing. So as far as for like companies and turnover rate, like you don't want to just push every like job that pops up on just one dude just because they're certified. Like start spreading it out, spread the wealth.
The rules of delegation are also overlooked, dude. Like you got to delegate stuff, man, in order to, you're coming from a team, but you've done that. When you left, right? So you got out of the military. What happened after that?
So I got out, we moved back to Texas. We got out, we were stationed in Colorado in Fort Carson. We drove back to Texas, and the only reason we came back to Texas is because our kids didn't really know their family all that well. So we wanted to bring them closer so they can know grandma and grandpa, uncles, aunts, cousins, friends, all that stuff. So we ended up moving back in with my mother-in-law who lived in Dripping Springs, Texas. She had a house with a pool, everything was set up, man. It was awesome. We're going from military base to, a nice house in Dripping Springs, Texas. That was difficult after a while, man, because we kind of needed our own space. So, man, we, to be honest with you, we were there for 3 years. And in between that time, I was going to Texas State. My wife was working at HEB. She was going to Texas State.
Eat them up.
Yeah, eat them up cats, man. And she, she gave us a place to live. And that was those 3 years of being there with her, man. It was a blessing. But at the same time, it taught me that I needed to hurry up and start making some moves, man, because I have a family. You know what I mean?
How did you decide what to do next?
I'm a very sporadic kind of dude, man.
Yeah.
I usually jump first before checking how deep the water is, man.
That's
And
fair.
so I was just jumping at everything. One of the things that really stood out to me was that there was a lot of veterans that were utilizing their VA benefits, and I was like, let me see what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I only wanted to do it so I can get some extra income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I started going to school, I started realizing, oh, there's a different matrix to this thing.
Mm.
There's a deeper thought process. There's a different way to think, you know?
Yeah.
And so the more school I got, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'd taken a couple of college classes in the military, but I started choosing to go back to school because I wanted to, not because the military was making me.
Mm-hmm.
I was having a conversation earlier with a buddy, and we were just talking about like promotion. And one of the questions I asked was, did they have an educational background to that? And because in order to get promoted, you also have to have college level courses in order to get promoted to the next rank. So I did that specifically for that. And but yeah, man, just started going to school, and little by little, I'm still in school.
Hey, man.
Yeah, man. Got my bachelor's degree back in 2017, or excuse me, 2021.
There you go.
From UTSA, and now I'm working on a master's degree at Texas A&M College Station, the Mays Business School. So,
That's all, dude. That's legit,
dude. I love it, man. I love it.
What is it about the business that drew you to? I guess like getting your business degree. Like, is it how universally applicable it is to?
So it's the Mays Business School, but the degree is going to be in marketing. So it's specifically like quantitative and qualitative data and market research and just essentially branding. So, I worked for a company, a famous coffee company a little while ago.
Can't imagine what that
back in the day. And so those guys kind of like piqued my interest as far as marketing, because we would have these all hands meetings where the marketing team would show up and they'd be like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to implement this new process. And it just kind of, it made my brain, expand in terms of like, I wanted to know exactly what it was they were talking about, the jargon they were using. I wanted in. So became a marketer.
I love that, man.
Yeah, man.
What's the hardest part about starting over?
Accepting that you are not going to be good at it when you first start. That was for me, like, I always want to be perfect at everything I do from the time I start to the time I end. And so I knew that starting over this time, thinking about it critically, that starting over was going to be the hardest part because I wasn't going to know anything. So
the same way, dude. I'm the same way, but I don't know if you do the same thing, but I almost do it to a point of it's ridiculous. Like, I have these crazy, unreasonable expectations that are like, oh, dude, like, I need to get it done 100% on the first time. I've never done it before.
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Right. But you have this expectation. When you fall short of these unrealistic expectations, you just get down on yourself and you're like, dude, like, oh, you suck, whatever. And you're telling yourself, dude, I suck. Like, I'm whatever. Right. And it's like, no, man, that's super unreal. It's a crazy, unrealistic expectation. Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you this, man. I was in therapy. Therapist told me this. He said, okay, so because I was explaining to him, I'm like, yo, like, this is what I do to myself. And he said, okay, imagine if your kids came to you and told you the same thing. What would you tell them? And I'm like, okay. All right. Chill.
Got
chill.
You, man. Yeah. He made you see. Yeah.
Dude, it's a crazy thing, man.
Yeah. And I don't know where that comes from, man. I know a lot of dudes like you and me that do that, where they just put so much emphasis on the fact that they have to be perfect. And it is like, you would never say something like that to your kid. Like, hey, you got to be perfect first time around, or else you're not going to do this. I'm going to stop paying for you to play, soccer. You better be good at it and score goals the first game. So, it's just the expectation that we put on ourselves, man, it's unrealistic.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of the people who are cut from the same cloth who do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Which sucks, man. So it would be cool if that changes.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment that you thought to yourself, whenever you were leaving and you were kind of in this transition period, that you thought, damn, I screwed up? Yeah.
And I really don't talk about it that much, man, but I'll be honest with you. I knew that something told me, do not go to the doctor today and tell them exactly what's happening with you, because there's going to be a chance that you are going to be released after a while. After they finally like check you out and do the research, they're going to look. And so I went anyway. And so I went to the docs. They gave me the bad news. Hey, man, we're going to have to cut you. Essentially, it was your last hurrah type deal. That sent me into a very, very, very bad place, man. 2 weeks after that, I was standing in formation in the Warrior Transition Unit, which is essentially like the way to get you from being a military person back into the civilian world. I was standing in formation, man, and I'd never experienced an anxiety attack before, ever. I didn't know what it was about. And so I was in formation, and all of a sudden in my mind, I was afraid of everybody around me, man. I was like deeply afraid. I felt like they were going to hurt me. And so at that moment, I knew, oh, this is an anxiety attack. And this is because of what I did 2 weeks ago. I went to talk to the doctor, and now I don't know what I'm going to do. And I felt like, yeah, I made a huge mistake. And it ended up, I was voluntarily placed into a mental facility because of that, because of the major anxiety that I'd suffered, because I tried to hurt myself, man. And it was the biggest mistake that I thought I made, was because I went to the doctors and told them that I was hurt. So yeah, huge mistake at the time.
And so that was a moment that you struggled with whenever you were in. When you decided to, or not when you decided to, but whenever you were out, right, and you were going back to college and you started this, did you ever have that same feeling of like, oh man, I screwed up, like this isn't the way I should be going, like I should just try and go back and plead with it or whatever? Did that thought ever cross your mind?
As we're sitting here right now, I think I still screwed up. If I still had the ability, the physical and mental strength to be a part of the military, I absolutely still would. So I think about it daily. It's not as big as it was back then, you know, this was 2013-ish. So it's not the way, it doesn't impact me the way it did then. But I think about it every day, man. Did I make a mistake? Ultimately, yes, at the time I did think I made a huge mistake. And like I said, currently right now, I feel like, dang, man, I could still be doing it. This would probably be my last year before I'm actually retiring after my 20-something years. But yeah, man, think about it all the time.
But here's the thing, Steve, is that you're such a good dude, man. And the thing is, you have so much more to offer than being able to do a job in the military.
Hey, man, I appreciate that.
You can lead people outside of that, and you can help those guys who are struggling with the same stuff that you went through. Because, like, dude, that's like, it sucks for people to have to go through those periods and times, right? But the fact that the bottom line is this: is that you still navigated it, and you're here now. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And unfortunately, it's not the case for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's important. Like, so to understand that, like, you're more than the job, and you can provide value to people, more value than what that caps you off, man. There's so much more that you can do.
Yeah.
What was a skill that you took from your career in the military and what you used to do that you didn't realize would help you out now?
I think the biggest skill that I picked up on going in or coming out was how to build rapport with people, man. Like, before, it was either like, hey, dude, you like me or you don't like me. It was never about like, I'm going to have a meeting with this dude right here, and if whatever I'm trying to accomplish in this meeting doesn't go well, how do I set him up for a second meeting so that I can make sure that, I accomplish what I need to? So building rapport, man, or learning to build rapport was something that was huge in the community of the military that I was a part of. And so I brought that skill set outside, I think, and it enabled me to be able to walk up to different people and be like, hey, man, what's up? And have conversations, and then just kind of, build a friendship, build rapport, man. Like, hey, dude, I like your shoes. I wear the same kind of shoes.
Well, you didn't do it with me, dude. I don't even like you.
I know, man. The first time we met, man, it was under sweaty conditions in jiu-jitsu gis.
Just rolling around,
man. And I think I was like, hey, that's my boss's son. And I was like, cool, let me go see if I can check him out.
But the weirdest part is you weren't even wearing pants.
Oh, no.
That was the weird thing.
That was the best part, I think, because I looked around and everybody had the pants on, and I was like, dude, I'm taking them off, man. I'm different.
I thought you said no gi.
I'm different. Yeah,
dude.
Like, I thought you said Nike.
Oh,
Nike. So I was like, oh yeah, dude. Yeah. So I was like, all right.
I mean, it's a simple mistake. It's a simple mistake.
Simple mistake, man. It happens. Just two dudes being silly, right?
Hey, just a couple of silly guesses.
A friend of mine told me that a long time ago. It's just two dudes being silly.
I don't like the way that sounds. I don't like that one bit. What do you know? Just two guys being silly.
Just two guys being silly.
You know how it is.
You know, it's just like when you're in the field, man, and it gets cold. You get into another sleeping bag with one of your buddies. It's just two guys being silly, man. We're getting warm and silly.
Yeah, it's a means to an end. It's fine.
Yeah.
Man, what was... You're dumb, bro.
Yeah.
What were some of the struggles that you faced after getting out, right? You're trying to get back on your feet. You're maybe living with your in-laws, right? What were some of the struggles that you faced early on in that segment? And especially as you've gotten older, starting over again, what were some things that were like, man, this is a recurring problem. Like, I'm struggling with this.
That's a good question, man.
Also, we got to keep eating.
Yeah.
These are so good, dude.
That's a good question, man, because at the time, I struggled with so many different things, man. One, I was ashamed of myself because I didn't complete the 20 years of service like a lot of my friends are doing now. Two, I felt like I went straight out of high school, got in, got out, went right back in. So I was kind of a young dude when I went in. So I didn't really have any skills other than telling people, I was in the military and I used to fix vehicles and I used to run around with cool guys. And so a lot of my struggles came with employment, man, like finding solid employment, like finding places where I was valued and finding places where they could utilize my strengths. I worked for a company one time that said, we're real big on veterans. And I realized that the only thing they were big on is hiring dudes that were physically fit and could do a lot of lifting. And that's why they hired veterans. And so that was kind of tough, man. So a lot of my struggles were internal struggles, man. I was looking inward to try to find answers. I wasn't finding answers. So I was looking outwards on who to blame for not being able to accomplish things. But yeah, a lot of my struggles were internal, man.
What do you think the biggest lesson is that you've learned from taking that leap of faith and going to try these other things now? Putting yourself out there.
The biggest thing I learned was you can never fully be able to tell somebody else that it's okay to take a leap if you've never taken a leap before yourself. You know what I mean, man? So with my children, I can't be that leader to them and tell them hey guys, if they can't come to me and say, I'm scared about doing this, Dad. And I say, well, I mean, you should just go for it because why not? I can't say that to them if I've never taken that leap myself and said to them, hey, you know what? It's scary when you're at the edge. You don't know if you're doing the right thing. There's so much room for you to step back and reevaluate. And there's very little room for you to just say, I'm going to go for it. And so I think just going for it, man, is what essentially made me a better dude and hopefully gives me the speaking points to my children or anybody else for that matter that is asking for some help to say, hey man, just go for it. Fear is something that occupies everyone's brain, man, but eventually you can get over that if you start taking more and more leaps, more calculated leaps.
For sure. Fear keeps people in the same positions, right? That's why so many guys who are in the military and law enforcement and these careers that you'd historically be at for 20 years, that's what keeps them there. Because, dude, I swear, dude, I would be so rich if I had $1 for every time someone told me, man, dude, I would leave, but I don't know what I would do.
Oh, yeah.
So many, right?
Yeah.
Or they say, I have an idea, but man, this is stable or whatever, right? It's like, yeah, dude, it's scary. It sucks. It's not fun being uncomfortable, but that's the only way that you're going to grow. And ultimately, what happens in 20 years when you stayed at the job and you're like, I don't actually like this. I'm just doing it because it's a means to an end and it's a number.
Yeah.
Then what? Yeah. You're never going to get that time back. There's no amount of money that's going to buy you 1 minute of time back doing something that you like with your family, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You can never get that back, no matter what. And I think that that's something that, again, it's hard to quantify, but it happens with people, man. And it sucks.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And another thing to that, man, I think ultimately when you're in the, I can't speak for everyone in the military, but I know for myself, man, there's so many like different incentives. Like, hey, man, if you stay in a little bit longer, we'll give you this bonus, or if you do this, we'll take give you some tickets so you and your family can go to take the kids to Disney World and you're just like, oh man, this is the life. But again, man, if you don't make those leaps, dude, to kind of change yourself, you might regret it later on in the end. You might get those 20 years of retirement and be like, damn, dude, I actually hated that, but I did it just because it was stable. And I'm an all over the place kind of dude, man. Anyway, man, I get bored easily, man. So I do one thing for a week and I do another thing for another week, and then sometimes I'm really good at it, and sometimes I suck at it. But ultimately, man, I think I made the right choice
I think you did, man.
In leaping.
I think you did, man. Speaking of right choices, man, you got a couple of them that you're going to have to make here in a second, because I'm going to hit you with some more rapid fire.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let me get a bite real quick.
Buddy, get a bite real slow if you want. I'll actually get a slow-mo shot of that if I need to. All right, so these are also serious questions. Are you ready? Tortillas, flour or corn?
Corn.
That quick. You just threw flour under the bus. That was impressive.
I like flour, man, but I grew up with flour my whole life, man. My grandmother was the only one who would eat corn tortillas, and we would laugh at her. But while the rest of us were chubby, she was nice and slim, man, because she was eating the healthy.
She knew something y'all did.
Healthy version, yeah.
She's making it with the masa.
Oh yeah,
you're over here. She's I get it.
She killed it, man. So corn. Yeah.
All right, okay. Rank these: nachos, wings, quesadillas, or sliders.
Ooh, rank them.
Yep. 1 being the best, 4 being the worst.
Okay, you got to tell me again, man. So nachos,
you got nachos, wings, quesadillas, or sliders.
Quesadillas number 1, nachos number 2, sliders are going to be all the way down at the bottom, man.
Oh wow!
And then wings are going to be a third. Yeah.
Hey, you sliders under the bus too.
Yeah, man. I'm not a big slider kind of guy.
Even sandwiches, like you do like little fried
with the
Korean
little Hawaiian
chicken?
rolls and they're fun, man. But I like eating a lot of food, man. Yeah. So I don't like to be the guy that's eating 12 sliders. I like to, just give me 12 sliders, man. I mean, that seems like an unreasonable number, man, but that's something for me that's
buddy,
okay, I'm full now.
Dude, they're just the right size when you eat 12 of them. I get it. What is the most overrated appetizer?
Overrated appetizer. Calamari. Super overrated.
What?
Yeah. Because, it's fried. I mean, dude, I'm good with fried. I feel like
it's calamari, dude.
I feel like I'm answering all the wrong things. I like calamari, man, but I would rather have something a little more exotic. You know what I mean? Like some
octopus squid isn't exotic for you?
Octopus is exotic, man. On its own, man. You can just eat it on its own, and it's so delicious.
But squid is pedestrian.
Yeah, because it's fried, man.
Dude, that's going to be your quote, man. Yeah. Octopus is exotic, but squid is pedestrian.
Because it's fried.
That's fair, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that, dude. Yeah. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I've had this conversation with my kids before, man.
So you've had time.
And I keep going back and forth. I think I'm going to have to go with some sort of either fish or shrimp taco, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, dude. Something with some cut up fruit, some mango in it, some jalapenos.
Oh, dude.
Some cilantro, dude. Some habanero sauce.
Yeah.
Maybe some coleslaw, the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, just for garnish.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Baja taco.
Baja taco, dude.
So
close as I can get with my time crunch, dude. Yeah. Dude, I'm glad you like them, because these actually came out a lot better than I thought.
Super delicious, man.
I'm so glad you like them, man.
Yeah. And I eat, dude. I'm telling you, I eat all day long, dude.
Buddy, that's why I started this show with food on it, dude. This is the best part. That's the thing. It's missing. We need food. Steve, if you could go back, dude, and give yourself advice, or give advice to somebody who was in your shoes, what would you tell them?
Biggest thing is, and this is, I don't like cliches, man, but I think for me, this is the biggest thing. And I've heard this from other dudes, is do not be afraid to ask for help, man. Whatever that means to you, man, whether it's hey man, can you come help me move some furniture, or hey man, can you come help me because I think I'm gonna hurt myself.
Yeah.
Just ask for help, man. A lot of us were taught when we were younger, man, just to internalize everything, and don't you go ask for help because you're going to embarrass your family, or, you're going to embarrass your mom and dad because they can't provide for you, or whatever the case may be. But ask for help, man, when you need help. I would tell my younger self all that time, man, when you run into a sticky situation, man, and you know you're not going to be able to get out on your own, look around to see who's there. Ask for help. If they can't help you, ask the next person.
If they say no for no good reason, they're probably not people you want around you anyway.
Agreed, man. Yeah.
What is something like an unexpected win that you've had since leaving? Because, I know it seemed to be doom and gloom at first, but what was an unexpected win that you had? Oh, now you got a buddy.
Hey, look at that.
She's made an appearance in just about every episode. Hey. And
I knew she was going to come visit, man. She was staring at me earlier.
You're feeding her quesadillas.
Yeah, I might have. Your question.
What was an unexpected win that you had from taking that leap of faith, doing these new things?
So this is very personal and almost selfish. I feel selfish for doing it, man, but it's super like something that I've always wanted to do. I just didn't know I could.
Yeah.
But I recently started ground school, man. So
really,
I'm gonna be a pilot, man.
Dude.
So I'm doing private pilot license courses right now. So I'm learning about everything from departure, man, to coming back on downwinds to the base, and your final landing. So all that kind of stuff, man.
Bro,
so,
what drew you to that? I'm curious, man.
Yeah,
that's
man.
Awesome.
For one, like I said, man, I'm kind of a creative / all over the place kind of dude, man. I can just go ahead and say it, man. I have ADHD, man. Yeah. So sometimes I let it take control. And when it takes control, man, I'm like, oh, there's the old Steve right there. And let's go do something new. But honestly, man, I met a guy that I used to work with about a year ago. Super cool dude. Used to longboard in Hawaii. So we talked about longboarding. And one day I saw him flying around like a remote airplane, and it crashed, and he, was documenting it, and he said, F this, man. I want to do the real thing. And the next thing, his next video was a cutaway to him, like going to sign up for getting his private pilot license. And I was like, dude, seriously? And I had another buddy who was in the Navy who was like talking to me about it for months. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do that, man. I don't know if I could. I have so many things on my plate right now. I got grad school, man, and I'm trying to do this. And eventually, man, like that video just got me. So I went and signed up for a discovery flight, man. I went up. They gave me the controls for a little bit, man. I got to fly around San Antonio, flew around the Alamo Dome. I looked at places like Our Lady of the Lake from a bird's eye view, man. And I was just like,
how was that?
It was amazing, man. There was one time in particular where I was holding the yoke, and he was like, you got the yoke, man. You're controlling the flight. And I read that sometimes these flight instructors like turn it on autopilot and make you think that you're doing it. So he was like, I was like, yeah, I know, man. You get it on autopilot. And he's like, no, I don't. This is how you know. And at that time, dude, my mouth completely dried up. I became straight, dude. Everything back there went to the size of this. And the whole time I was just like, here we go. And then eventually I went up on like a really bad day too. Man. There were so many crosswinds, but yeah, man, I never would have been able to like do any of this kind of stuff had I not, done the things that I did.
Well, dude, that's super cool, man. Yeah. I haven't heard of too many people who are willing just to go out and get their pilot's license. Like that is, so you're doing that, man. What else is next for you?
Oh, man, it's going to sound corny, man, but what's next for me is continuing to live, man. And that means whatever is put in front of me, whatever challenge I'm faced with, I'm going to figure out a solution. If I can't, I'm going to turn around and ask for help. If there's no one around, I'm going to figure out a way around it, above it. And so that, to me, that I just want to live, man. I want to ride longboards for as long as I can. I want to be able to get up on an airplane, dude, and take my buddies up there with me and go, hey, man, did you ever think this is where we were going to be, dude?
Yeah.
I want to live, man. Dude, and so that's
what's next
for me, man.
I love that, dude. That's incredible, man.
There's some other dudes that you guys are familiar with, or that you're familiar with, man. And I wholeheartedly live by that motto, and their motto is die living. And those are some good dudes, man.
I can't imagine.
There you go, man. There's some good dudes. And how could you not, man? Like most dudes my age are either to the point where they're like, oh, I'm on the downhill, brother.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just relaxing. I'm having a few beers over the weekend after my 9 to 5, and I'm like, dude, I can't do that, brother.
Yeah.
I have to be able to vibe with what's happening, man. I got to post content. I got to create. You know what I mean? I got to try to inspire other dudes. I got to try to help as many people as I can. So,
well, here's the thing, dude.
That's all living.
By coming here today, dude, and just sharing what you've shared, that does help people, man. Because whether 2 people watch this, whether 20 people watch this, dude, like, there are people who have been in your shoes, and there's people who are going to be in their shoes.
Absolutely.
Right? And like hearing someone who's made it out through the other side of it, it's pivotal, man.
Yeah.
Like it's the difference between hope and no hope, right? Because they see, man, if that guy can make it, maybe I can make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
man.
Steve, you're such a good dude, man. You're a smart guy. You have so much cool stuff that you have going on, man. You're working. You're right, dude. You're gonna be a pilot. You've gone through these experiences. So many things that you have to offer other people, man. And it's super awesome, man. If people want to find you, where can they go follow you and support what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. And I really appreciate those words, man. They mean a lot to me, man. For a long time, I was afraid to like call myself these things like poet and student. And, I just had this like big block over me, almost like a cloud of like, I'm not good enough to be called those things, man. So I really appreciate it, man. But yeah, man, if you want to try to find me, I'm on Instagram at Stephen _David _Medrano.
Okay.
I go on there, post content, dude.
Sweet. Yeah. Dude, I will I'll make sure and drop those handles down in the description, so that way people who are watching, they can find you, they can support what you're doing. Dude,
yeah, man.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been an honor to have you. It's been an honor to make some food for you, man. Just come over, kick it with me, talk for a little bit, and help some people out. So, dude, thank you so much, man.
This has been a blessing, brother. Buddy. And I'm super thankful for it, man.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
I'm super, super thankful for it.
New episode of, if you want to see the recipe, this is coming out next week. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. You can see when the next ones are out. Episode done, man.
Dude.
What'd you think?
Dude, amazing, man.
Yeah?